and gentlemen, the 3 knockdown rule is in effect on Triller. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Managua, Mario Lopez. What a performance. We'll get into it later, though.
Oh, wow. See, I thought you were going to give me some sort of hobbling,
what's going on
crippled moniker here. Ice in the knee. You know what's going on? Getting old sucks. That's what's going on. Your body has to be a little bit more cooperative with the mind when you start training. The jiu-jitsu tournament, we got another one, my last one, on 19th for a while. Just I don't like setting goals and not coming through. And then we got to get ready for the movie. That's a whole nother thing. So forgive me for icing and being at this weird angle today.
But you are a gamer. Also manning the controls, Smoking Tim Frazier, Justin Buffalo Knuckles, and Tino on the edits. We got so much to talk about. Friday night from beautiful Fresno, California on ESPN Plus, junior welterweight Jose Ramirez gets back on the winning track, defeating the tricky, crafty Jose Pedraza. Your scores 116-112 across the board. And also featherweight Joet Gonzalez stopping Gio Santisma in 9 rounds. Mario, I think the fights in Fresno just ended about 10 minutes ago.
Bro, can we talk about that before we get to the fights? Because you were, I think I was working, and I said, call me before the main event starts. I didn't hear from you. I thought you forgot about me. That's not like Kim.
Mario,
like,
I would never forget about you.
I should certainly hope not. I'm your only friend. So I was like, what's going on? And then I check, and it wasn't, the co-main was even on. I'm like, oh my God, I was exhausted. I'm on the West Coast. People on the East Coast, just screw them. Forget about it. Yeah. What happened? There had to be something wrong. There was a ball dropped at some point, wasn't there?
First of all, the main card started right around 7. And here's the problem with ESPN. I know you guys do a lot of production. You guys do a lot of these vignettes that are very well produced. It's about the fights. We don't need 25 to 30-minute intervals between every single fight.
You gotta respect people's time, especially on the East Coast. That's a way to turn off fans.
Well, here's the fact. The main event was a little bit delayed because there was a glove issue. One of the fighters had to re-glove, so that's an extra 20 minutes. But the main event didn't start till about 9:35 Pacific time.
Wow.
Which is past midnight on the East Coast.
So technically Sunday morning.
And the Saturday. And so
Saturday morning, yes.
The official decision wasn't read right around 1:30. Now, look, for the West Coast, it's not that big of a deal, but half the country is either Central or Eastern time. Right. I have another question. How do you build an audience when you start your main events that late?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Not only do you not build an audience, I think you lose it. And it discourages people from wanting to. Why would they want to watch or be invested?
No other sport says, hey, you know the thing that's the main event, that's our main dish? Let's start it past midnight. Hey, guys. Quicken it up. But anyway, your thoughts on Jose Ramirez's winning effort?
Well, I liked Fresno and the fact that they're fighting in his hometown a lot. It's a lively crowd. He packs the place. And this was the first time we've seen him since he fought Josh Taylor, which we were both at. He came out aggressive. He was letting his hands go from the beginning. I thought he was doing a good job for the most part, cutting off the ring. However, Pedraza ended up making nice adjustments and started to time him, but I felt it was a little too few and far between. He kept it interesting, but never did I think at one point he was starting to take over or Ramirez was in danger. There was some close rounds that I think maybe could have gone either way. I ended up having Ramirez because of his activity and him closing out strong, winning 115-113, but. And he's a complete total gentleman. I like this post-fight interview, and he carries himself really well. And it was a nice homecoming considering his prior fight. But if I'm being honest, I didn't like to see him getting touched too clean, Kim. I thought now he's in there with a very crafty guy, nice counterpuncher, but was it me or did he look like he was getting caught a little too clean, a little too often?
Yes, and he's very lucky that Pedraza, for as slick and as technically sound as he is, not a puncher. And that became an issue.
That crossed my mind, yeah.
Look, I think there's a strong argument that Pedraza won maybe 5-6 rounds, but in Fresno, that equates to 8-4, which ended up being 16-12 across the board. Here's the thing with Jose Ramirez. Everyone says he looked rusty. That is certainly the case, maybe, but here's the thing about his last 5 fights. Jose Zepeda, difficult guy. Mo Hooker, very difficult guy, got through him. Victor Postel, incredibly awkward. Josh Taylor, incredibly talented. And Pedraza, incredibly good boxer.
Look at that
They haven't
resume.
done him any favors.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, outside of a handful of fighters, Canelo, Usyk, what have you, who's really gone down a stretch like that?
Right.
Especially in the junior welterweight division.
But this is the point that I want to make as it relates to Ramirez. A lot of people are saying he looks like a faded fighter. They're not using the word shot. Maybe they're using the term rusty. But he reminds me a little bit of a taller Ranger Baby Bull Diaz. Remember the young man out of Houston that used to throw a million punches?
Sure.
There's a theory about fighters like that, going back to Joe Frazier or even Jack Dempsey. They burn out quickly. In other words, they're like an SUV. They're not fuel efficient. So by the time they get to their late 20s, it's like a mid-30s. Certain styles like a Bernard Hopkins, Floyd Mayweather, they could fight all the way up to like their 40.
Right, James Toney.
Jose Ramirez is showing signs, in my view, of a certain type of physical erosion. But if I'm top ranking his management, and again, this is going to depend on the ratings, so there's going to be a lot of empty belts there, I would try to find a guy that's going to be there for him.
I like your comparison with Baby Bull. Obviously, he's built a lot different. And by the way, Juan Diaz had a nice little career in transition. And I think he got into real estate or he got into law enforcement or something, and he's done quite well. And I think Ramirez, coincidentally, will transition well, too. He's a smart kid with bright head on his shoulders. I wouldn't say shot at all, a little faded. Look, I think there's a little wear and tear. I don't know how much of an erosion there is necessarily with his skills because he was very busy. And I think he needed to be with that particular fighter. Once Josh Taylor leaves that division, I think it's really interesting.
Wide open.
It's wide open, and I think he's right in the mix. Now, with Chon, Cepeda. I think that gets right interesting. And by the way, he said he's willing to go back to Fresno for the rematch. So there's some fun fights to be made at junior welter.
Yeah, and also on the undercard, Joet Gonzalez. He's good TV. I don't know if he's ever going to win a belt. I mean, look, This is how you have to be a little bit lucky in winning a belt. Certain guys get vacant titles or real soft titleists. Our guy Joet here, first of all, his first title shot, one of the trickiest guys to find in the ring who could literally disappear in front of you, Shakur. Okay. Then he fights a guy who throws 15,000 punches at you, all in different angles. He hasn't got it. So when people say it's easy to win a belt, no, it's not.
No, of course
not. No,
it's not.
But Joet he's a guy that has a blue collar, hard hat, and he just chops that
Goes
wood.
to work.
He just uses that pickaxe, and he breaks a guy down. It's exactly what happened. Now, Saturday night in beautiful San Diego, California, from the Pachanga Arena on the Zone. This guy is worth the 2-hour drive. In fact, you know what? I'd drive 20 hours to watch Roman Gonzalez picking up his 51st victory, just absolutely schooling a young, passionate Julio Cesar Martinez over 12, 116-112, 117-110, 118-110, and also featherweight action. Mr. Violence, Mauricio Lara, folds Emilio Sanchez like a lawn chair.
That was dirty.
Mario Chocolatito, that is boxing 101.
That was like a masterpiece. It really was. That was like watching Picasso paint or something. I was so impressed because he's been on the scene for so long, right? And little guys usually don't hang out because it's a lot of quick twitch muscles and explosiveness and stuff. And especially after Sarong Vasai, the way he has managed to still fight at this level and the performance he just had against a young, strong kid who, by the way, I didn't agree with the commentary saying that he was wasn't answering, he was intimidated. No, that kid came to fight, and he was letting his hands go, which made it all the more impressive the way Chocolatito was able to answer. I can't remember the last time I've seen it. First of all, my guy's footwork is impeccable. He's never off balance, never out of position. I can't think of the last time I saw a guy be so close to a fighter and yet so relaxed and make him miss and counter and pay. I mean, that was some real, you can't even teach that. It's almost kind of just so nuanced, and his counters are so beautiful. Those uppercuts into the body and his placement, the way he goes up and down when he was going jab, straight right, with that left hook and then bouncing and catching and parrying all this. And he looked like he just shaved at the end, too. Because, again, Martinez was letting those hands go. He was a tough kid. By the way, props to him. He showed a real sturdy chin, showed a lot of heart, and he was letting those hands go. I don't know if it was Sergio Mora or some of the commentators were saying he's intimidated, he doesn't want to fight. I go, what? He was winging them hard and heavy. And Chocolatito was catching those punches on his arms, making his way in, and just doing such beautiful work inside. Very, very impressed from the 34-year-old.
That looked like the tortoise versus the hare. One guy's working very, very hard, doing all this fast, frenetic stuff, and the veteran's just picking his spots, letting a guy go to certain areas, thinking 2-3 steps ahead. With everything you said, I want to talk about his defense. Young fighters, look at the hand placement of Roman Gonzalez and the way he tucks his chin in. For his style, he's as defensively responsible as you can possibly ask.
And the distance in which he does it, Kim, he's right in your face. I've never seen someone so like right in your face and not get touched.
And you talk about how Martinez was throwing a lot of punches. The problem is his punches have a lot of width. They have a lot of fat, as Teddy Atlas would say. So they gave counter-punching opportunities right down the alley. Now, if Roman,
they did, but they were fast and furious too.
They were, but and also there were times when Chocolatito would understand, I have to hit the guy, but I'm not going to punch through him. I'm going to bring my hand right back because he understood what was coming back. Now, if Roman Gonzalez was a textbook, technically, Martinez is the O-Pee-Chee folder with a lot of papers flying out of it. Old school reference there. Because technically, he's very, very unsound. And personally, I thought the only thing tougher than Martinez in that fight
was his corner.
Last 3 rounds, you're like, he's getting beat like a piñata. I expected Tootsie Rolls to fall out of him.
Well, on TV, he still looked very much a live dog as far as he had a lot of whip on those punches. I didn't think, maybe in person it was different, but on TV, he still looked like he was...
Well, that 12th round, that was amazing.
No, that was. The whole fight was amazing. But yeah, the fact and his stamina and just being like an older guy for that weight class.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And by the way, San Diego kept it classy. I hope to see more fights there.
Nice.
They must have, the whole floor was sold out. Lower bowl, Jim Boone told me, every ticket was sold.
It's awesome.
If you bring back the Roman Gonzalez Estrada 3 fight there, I think you can actually do 13 to 15,000. And according to Matchroom, I think they're going to make the 619 a regular or semi-regular destination for this great sport.
It's smart on their end because obviously you have a lot of Latinos, very diversity with the big naval base. But then you have Tijuana just minutes away.
Órale.
So you can cross that border where obviously there's a lot of passionate fans. And I think with the right matchups, it could be a huge market.
And Mauricio Lara, as I like to say, certain guys fight like they're double parked. He fights like he's robbing a bank. He's in a rush. I mean, everything is from the heels. He is a go-getter.
Fun to watch.
I mean, Emilio Sanchez, I felt bad for him because he tried to go into a firefight with Fire Marshal Bill.
Yeah.
A wrong move. News and notes. Maydays. This has just been announced, a couple of fights here. The WBO approves the rematch between Jermel Charlo and Brian Castano. A lot of people believe that could end up May 14th. Then, David Benavidez looks like he's going to be fighting David Lemieux May 21st. And Mike Carpenter just reported this. Tank Davis takes on Rolly Romero May 28th. Well, you like that fight more than I do. I think that's a blowout.
No,
I think it's Tiananmen Square.
I'm not saying it's not. I just like the antics leading up to it. It's funny. My guy gives zeros.
Yeah, he really does.
He's fun. He's fun TV.
And till the actual fight. Then fight preview Saturday, Nottingham in England from DAZN for the WBA regular featherweight title. Lee Wood takes on Irish Michael Conlon. And one note here for Fight TV. This has just been announced. The Fight TV fine website does a lot of the pay-per-views that aren't picked up by the bigger outlets. On April 20th, from the Melbourne Convention Center for the IBF middleweight elimination, Michael Zarafa takes on Isaac Hardman, and the IBF women's super bantamweight title is on the line. Sugar Johnson takes on Melissa Esquivel. We come back. We have a very special guest joining us. Semper Fi, Oorah, Jamel Herring joins us in studio. And we're back here on the 3 Knockdown Rule on Triller. And Mario, we have a very, very special guest joining us in studio.
My guy, Jamel Herring.
Okay.
What's going on,
Finally,
man?
right?
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time to come here. Now, coincidentally, we literally sat next to each other. Was it the Fury Wilder fight?
Yep. The trilogy.
The trilogy. That was a good one, huh?
Yeah, it was.
That was fun atmosphere. That was a great fight.
It was you, me, Vince Vaughn.
Right.
We had
Michael J. Fox is on the other side of me.
Yeah.
That was the road to be in, player. That was the road to be in. But no, man, I've always been a fan of yours.
Appreciate it,
not just in the ring, but out of the ring. Carry yourself like a gentleman. So I appreciate you taking the time. Tell me about this book you've got going on.
My partner who's here with us today, JC, and I, we always discuss about just sharing my story. But I always figured it was like one of those things where like I wanted to share it after I was done, fighting, whatever. But it was like, no, you there's so much that you can tell now. Why don't you just put it out there? You know, for a while I kept putting it off. Then I decided, you know what? Let's at least get it started.
Yeah.
And pretty much it went well, and it became like more of like a part one, because I still feel like there's more to tell down the road. But for the most part, it's called the Fighting Marine. And people at first think it's just about maybe just my Marine Corps career or boxing career, but for the most part, it kind of like takes place in different scenarios, part of my life from my childhood. Like, a lot of people don't know. I used to be in like foster care. People didn't know that.
Wow.
You know, my parents was like, they was going through like problems, drug problems when I was a kid. But they eventually got their life together, and I went back to my parents and everything like that. But then it takes place when I was, you know, my years in high school, when I first got into the Marine Corps. Basically my deployments, my loss of my tragedy when I lost my daughter Ariana. I speak on that for a bit because, you know, there are a lot of parents out there that been through the tragedy of SIDS.
Sure.
And I wanted to share my story as basically telling people that, you know, I'm just a regular human being at the end of the day as well. Like, I go through the same issues that you may go through as well. And, you know, just like different aspects help people that may be going through a certain part of in their life that I was going through, like with PTSD from deployments and things of that nature.
Right.
So I just wanted to basically just show people just different sides of me, more than just the fighting Marine boxer, and just, you know, all the obstacles that I've been throughout my lifehood.
What a full life for such a young guy, and what an inspiration, especially coming through the foster care system, and,
Right.
and a perfect example of someone who can turn out to be a gentleman and a quality individual. You're from New York originally, correct?
Yes, Long Island, Coram. Shout out to everybody in Coram, New York.
Okay, Coral's in Long Island, is that what you're saying?
Coram, yep, Coram, Suffolk County.
Nice. All right. Except when you were there at Strong Island.
Yeah.
Okay. So born and raised there.
Yeah.
And then how did you get into fighting?
I actually was like just dragged into it by coincidence. I just, like, growing up, all we knew was like okay, coach, like when I came from my parents was like Tyson. So of course it was the Tyson era, and the Roy Jones era, and things of that nature. But like the number one thing was Rocky films. So I was thinking like, man, I'm not gonna box, man. You see the films, like great films, but I'm like, yo,
right?
They have like no defense. Like as a kid,
so
I
like a Rocky shirt today.
Yeah, like
why the movie
so
was
like,
good.
Yeah, like there's like no defense. I'm like nobody. Yeah. But no, my good friend Shanti Hendricks, he told me, say, hey man, you know, I was on track because I used to do when I was younger, my first sport was pee-wee football, basketball, track. So I was basically just more of like an athletic runner. But he was like, no, just come down to the gym and just try it out. And when I came down to the gym, I was maybe like 15, 16 years old. And like Steve can tell you, most, especially top amateurs, they usually started like when they're like 6 years old,
Yeah,
6, 7 years
kids.
old. And so I basically consider it started late. But I was so intrigued by how hard everyone worked out in the gym. And then, like, you know, growing up in the New York district, from that background, just from the Golden Gloves was a big thing for us.
Oh yeah, especially in New York.
So, you know, I come from like when Curtis Stevens and Danny, like funny story, Danny Jacobs was actually my first loss as an amateur. So you can imagine how long ago that was. Me and Danny had fought in the Junior Olympics finals to get to the nationals.
Oh wow!
And that was my first loss, and it was like 132 pounds. And you know, now we just seen recently Danny Jacobs is what, super middleweight.
Yeah, he probably walks around at like 190.
Yeah.
So you fell into it, and at that point fell in love with it.
I fell in love. I just stuck with it, and I just and I became more of a student of the game because I got so intrigued with you know, just learning about the history of boxing in the past. One of my favorite fighters growing up was Eric Morales.
Yeah.
One of my favorite fights from Eric, well, two of my favorite fights from Eric Morales was the first fight with Pacquiao. I love Pacquiao, but I do not like to watch the second and third fight.
Yeah.
And then his fight with Maidana, you know, just because it just showed the heart.
Sure.
And
an older Morales.
Exactly, as older boy, he just didn't care. Like he was just like balls.
I remember one eye should close.
Yeah, balls to the wall. But you know, guys like that, I've always been a big Oscar De La Hoya fan as well. Love that Oscar, no matter what you say, for everybody, for everyone. And that's why I'm like that today. Like, I don't like, I mean, Steve, I could tell you guys both, I could have easily said no to the Shakur fight. But when I came up in the era with guys like Bernard Hopkins, Oscar De La Hoya when they just said, whatever, let's make the fight.
Yeah, that's why.
So,
you
and
get
I'm
to
just saying,
respect.
I'm the same way now. Like, I don't take losses hard. Well, let me correct that. I mean, every fighter doesn't want to lose, but I don't dwell so much on the past, and like I just learn from it, and I just say, okay, you know what?
Yeah, that's
no
growth.
hard feelings. Shakur Stevens is probably one of the best up and coming fighters today. So there's no hard feelings losing to somebody who could potentially be great. And me and Shakur actually have a great relationship now than we did during the build-up. But like I said, I got guys like JC in my corner. Also my new advisor Gary Gittleson, who's been great. Thanks to Steve, and guys like that. But I just look forward to the next thing because I love the sport so much that I don't dwell so much on the past.
That's awesome.
Jamel, let's get into this. What makes a young man enlist in the U.S. Marines? That's a difficult endeavor.
For me, like I said, coming from New York, it was around the 9/11 situation because I graduated in 2003. So 9/11, 2001 was not that far apart. And I had a best friend who I also speak about in my book. His name is Stephen Brown. And he was a year older than me, and he had enlisted into the Marine Corps the year before I graduated. And, when he came back from boot camp, like I said, he used to be a heavy-set kid. He came back shredded, in shape, and he just had a different perspective on life. And he's just like, hey, man, there's nothing here for you to do. Why don't you, just, think about enlisting? And then I was like, okay, that gave me another reason to be like, all right, things going crazy in the world. I wasn't so bad. I did great in school. Like I was on the honor roll, but I wasn't so much looking forward to going to college. And I was like that kid. Like once I graduate, I don't want to think about school for a while, but I need to do something.
Right.
So that was one reason as well. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'll give it a try. But I'll tell you one thing. Day 2 in boot camp, I was planning my escape off of Paris Island. Like
Really?
I did not. Yeah, I was like, listen, I was still 17. I was a kid.
Yeah.
I
Where'd
had
you get stationed?
I was in Paris Island, South Carolina. That was where I went to. And most of my Marine Corps career was on the East Coast. So I was mainly in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. But like I was always into fights because I was a hothead. Like I was always into fights in boot camp. It was like Oz.
Yeah.
I looked at him. I'm like, but for recruits. But I was always into fights.
Did they have boxing in Marines?
Yeah. That's why I actually joined. That's why I actually got the bulk of my amateur experience. That's why I started learning the amateur system a lot quickly.
Okay.
Was through the Marine Corps boxing program. Because at the time, I would have actually went to qualify for the 08 team, but I had got deployed and I missed all the qualifiers. I was in my second deployment at that point in time in 07. And I remember, matter of fact, I believe it was my second deployment though. I was actually fortunate to watch the De La Hoya Mayweather fight in Iraq.
Yeah.
So when I seen that fight, I had found my motivation again to get back into boxing. And then from there, I had re-enlisted, but I wanted to go to a non-deployable station so I can just solely focus on making the 2012 Olympic team. And at first it was a rough start because I came across a very young, talented fighter who I'm upset that's not active today, which is Frankie Gomez. He had beat me in the 2000, I think it was 9.
Wow, what a small world.
Yeah, it was a 2009 U.S. Nationals, and this is crazy. It's not smaller like you pointed out. He had beat me in the quarterfinals, and then he went on to fight Jose Benavidez in the finals, and he beat Jose.
Really?
And then he went on to the Worlds to fight the
a Cuban
the
guy.
national, the Cuban, the Olympic, and he ended up winning a silver medal. But then right there after that, I remember USA Boxing wanted to keep him in the amateur system, but Oscar in the game came along.
Yeah.
And they took him.
That's so funny that you mentioned him too, because it was such a. Because I used to see Frankie when I go to Wild Card all the time,
Right.
Quiet kid, whatever. But man, he could box his ass off.
Oh, yeah.
But the kid, he just liked to eat too much, or he just no discipline.
He had no motivation.
He needed a little Marine.
Yeah, I know.
A little Marine boot camp in him.
He was like what Steve had mentioned before in terms of Juan Diaz, but he can hit.
He had power.
Yeah, he had power. He was very active, and I'm like, because I'm a boxer. So like, if you let me just fight my fight at my pace, I'll box your head up. But like, he just kept coming and come. Like, this kid does not stop. And this is at this point in time, he was like that. No one knew about him because he was so young. He had just came from the juniors. Yeah. So when he got to the fight into the men's division, nobody knew who he was. Yeah. Unless you was like one of the coaches who was deep into it. But like, he just went through everybody in that tournament and was like, man, this kid's amazing. And I would always like I talk to JC all the time. Like, man, I wish that Frankie would have just stuck with it because this kid was just so talented.
And for no reason, Jamel. Like I remember he had a great. Was it Mauricio Herrera, his last fight? And he looked great, and then just fell
Well,
off.
he was supposed to fight as the co-feature on Canelo, Kirkland, and Houston, and he only missed weight by about 7 pounds. Okay, and at that point, he just went to Bolivian. He's the most undermotivated fighter I've ever seen.
Which is sad when you have talent too.
Yeah.
You know,
And it
when you have
comes,
talent,
but
that's
it
sad.
comes
Yeah.
from a great circle of people because Sinisa Estrada started in that same circle, and Sinisa, another East LA fighter, next to Oscar De La Hoya, is probably one of their few champions from East LA. So shout out to Sinisa Estrada as well. But there's a lot of talent though that came from that pool.
Yeah.
And like I can at least say Sinisa is one of the few that's still here today and going strong. Like Sinisa is like she stays motivated and she wants more. Like she's never satisfied, and I love that about her.
Jamel, given the fact that you have seen combat, do you look at what's going on in the reports of the Russian-Ukraine conflict differently than most people?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because like you see crazy stuff like on social media, Steve, when people question if U.S. fighters would want to step up to really
You did
really
Been
I
there,
mean
done that.
this is the reason why I started my pro career late. I was too busy getting deployed and doing the right thing, at least in my mind, for the core. But I still look at it differently in terms of like people like get critical even when like, oh, Lomachenko went to Greece first and he wasn't like. War is not a game. Like,
right.
I do not question or criticize anyone who doesn't, want to go out there on the battlefield. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you got plenty of other volunteers that will do it, but now it makes it seem like now people expect the boxers of Ukraine to just throw on a rifle and get on the battle. Like, no, my hat. I tilt my hat to these guys, but I always say I just pray that we never have to wake up one morning and hear reports that one of our fellow fighters may have got injured or worse. So
exactly.
Of course I look at it differently. But some people on social media, like people who don't have a heart, also. Well, I hope that doesn't disturb the boxing schedule. I hope we still get that Usyk and Anthony fan. Anthony. Hope we still get the Lomachenko. And came, but listen, man. These people are these individuals are fighting for something bigger, than money or the sport. They're fighting to defend their country. Now, I give them a lot of love and respect for that.
How was Iraq when you were there?
Hot, too hot.
How hot?
Listen, on an average day, it would be 120.
Come on.
And remember, you're out there with boots, flak jacket on, Kevlar, backpack, rifle. And we would it was to the point where we would the water. It would be cold in coolers when we first would leave, but by the midday is boiling. It's boiling. And you're stuck with that, and
wow.
What are you gonna do? And then
and essentially desert, right?
Essentially desert. And I used to always people look at me crazy, I could fall asleep anyway, but I'm like at the same time, because their housing or whatever, is mainly stone.
Yeah.
And okay, sometimes you'll come across say an abandoned area that's been it's been ridiculed by of course warfare, and you had to set camp, so you had to maybe just use your pack as a pillow, and you're just laying on a stone floor throughout the night, pitch black, because there's no street lights out or anything, but for the most part, people always ask me about combat. I haven't seen much of it because the way they looked at it is America has one of the strongest military forces, so of course they're not going to fight you head on. This is not Saving Private Ryan. This is not trench warfare anymore. So our biggest thing in which I came across was roadside bombing,
right?
IED. So
exactly.
I had a few convoys that got hit by explosives and that I've seen with my own eyes. I mean, I can tell you guys a story. I was in the yard one day. And I seen something just fly over my head. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing stuff. Then I heard a big explosion behind me, and then we found out the next couple of hours they was throwing RPGs at us. RPGs. We was getting hit with mortar attacks, and it, I seen it all. But again, that's why I said I don't have anything with any issues with anybody who doesn't want to sign, because it's not a game. I mean, even in my book, Steve, I speak about one sergeant I never forget. He was actually giving us a class. He's an EOD technician. Basically, it's a bomb squad, in the military, in the Marine Corps. And he was giving us a class, and I never forget. Couple of Marines was out there fooling around, and he got upset, and he basically, rightfully so, was yelling like, "Hey, listen up! I'm trying to save you guys' lives, and you guys not paying attention. It's not a game. I got a 2-week-old son that I haven't met yet, and I'm just trying to, not only get myself home, but get you guys home." Well, 2 weeks later, that same sergeant was killed by an explosion. And at that same time, I was deployed. It was my second deployment, but I was expecting my first son, back home. So that's when it really started clicking, like, no one is ever excused from what's going on out here. Like, this is a man. Well, this is now, I was thinking back, like, this was 2007. So what this kid is like about what? He's a teen. He's a teen now, and I'm like, this is a kid who will never be able to meet his father. So that's why I don't take things for granted. That's why I always stay humbly grounded, and I just appreciate every day that I'm here.
Jamel, after serving, when you represent your country in the 2012 Olympic Games, did it mean more to you, you think?
It did, because it's a funny story. The anniversary of the opening ceremony was the anniversary of my daughter's passing, July 27th. She had passed away July 27th, 2009. The opening ceremony was July 27th, 2012. So just to get there was a great achievement. And like you also, Steve, even on her 10th birthday, that's when I won my first world title. So I don't feel like, things happen for a coincidence. Like, I think things like just happen for a reason.
Yeah.
But not only just to get there, I was actually the only U.S. Marine to compete in the Olympics that year. And though we didn't have the greatest outcome, like as a leader, I remember I still stayed around for everybody's match, no matter what. I mean, I lost in the first round against a young, I keep forgetting his name, but he was the zone. Eddie Hearn had signed him. Eddie Hearn, that Kazakh fighter, who's now like a welterweight though, but he's like, I haven't seen him in a while. But still though, as one of the team captains, I said, you know what, I got to stick around, because I'm not gonna, have my head low and not be there for my teammates. So at least I got to witness girls like Steve's good friend Clarissa Shields won her first gold medal. Marlene Esparza also took a bronze medal. So I was happy just to know that. Even watching Errol Spence, Rashid Warren, Marcus Brown, Jose, Jose Ramirez, Jojo Diaz. So we actually had a real talented team.
You, Jose Ramirez, Jojo Diaz, and Errol Spence all went on to be world champions.
Right. So I mean, that's what I take out of it. Yeah. So we actually got something out of it in the long run. But I mean, still to this day, I still communicate with those guys.
That's cool. That's cool.
Michael
man.
Hunter as well. I haven't heard much from Dominique, but when I do get to see Dominique Brazil, but like I still reach out to these individuals to this day.
It's interesting, Jamel. You signed with PBC, took a couple of losses, and it looked like, okay, it looks like this is not going to happen. Right. Was there ever a point where you said, okay, I got to get back to the civilian life, away from boxing? And did you ever actually think about walking away from the sport?
No, because JC wouldn't let me. He wouldn't. I remember we were just like, you know what? After the Miller fight, it was just one of those things. You know what? We got to actually be smart and take a step back and figure out what we need to fix. Even now, no matter what. Even now, it's we always do the same thing. We just look back on the landscape, and that's when I said, okay. No, like Al Heyman, I actually still could speak with Al Heyman to this day. I'm like probably one of the only, it's only but so many few fighters I got his number, so I can still reach out to Al Heyman. I still talk to Brad and Sylvia over there. But the thing was, after the Miller fight, I was actually willing to stick with PBC. But I wanted to make a move down south to super featherweight, junior lightweight. And at the time, when you look at the landscape, there was no one in there. There's only but Tank Davis. But I had to actually fight somebody just to get back in, at least in that picture and in the rankings. And I was like, you know what? My contract's coming to an end. Okay, maybe we should look around to see what's going on. And I actually, Shout out to my guy Robert at Golden Book, and I always get on his case.
Robert Diaz?
Yes, Robert Diaz.
A lot of times.
We went to Robert Diaz first. We went to Robert and him first because I remember when I first signed with Al, that's when they were still working with Golden Boy. So I started my career on Golden Boy cards, and I had a great relationship with Golden Boy. And again, like I said, I grew up as a fan of Oscar De La Hoya. So I was like, I was like, you know what? I don't have no problem going to Golden Boy. I would love to go back to Golden Boy. But at the time, they thought, I remember Robert and them thinking that, because I used to train with Adrian Bronner, so they thought I was signed with About Billions. I'm like, no, I don't have any. There's
Lucky
no
you.
There's no paperwork here. Like, no, I'm just a free. And like Robert didn't bite. He wasn't taking the bait. So we went over to Top Rank and interesting story. You know how it is, Steve. At first it's like, okay, coming up for second loss. Maybe let's match him up against one of our younger guys to see how he does. Then it was like, well, if he beats one of our younger guys, he may jump ship and go somewhere else. So let's give him a 3-fight deal. Then somebody over there was like, you know what? Let's just give him a full ride and see how it goes. And that's how I ended up with Top Rank. And even then, Steve, Mario, as well, it was not cemented. I still had to go over there and prove my case. Sure. And I remember, I never forget. First fight, headbutt, bleeding, and they thought it was about to it was over. And I was like, you know what? It's time to be a Marine, bite down, push forward. And I end up stopping the guy. And I remember, and the crazy thing is that this kid had just went the distance with the prospect Teofimo 2 months prior to that. And so when they got the call to fight me, they was feeling good about themselves. It was like, oh yeah, we just went the distance with Teofimo Lopez. We'll fight him. Mm-hmm. And Teo, I remember Teo was on the same card that night when I did fight the kid in the garden of the Lomachenko Jorge Linares card.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was that card. And even Teo and his father was like, man, this kid is just like, he's tough. Like, he's beatable, but he's going to just keep coming. I was like, okay, all right. Let me see my own way, though. And I never forget, I got cut, and I was like, you know what, forget it. Forget boxing. We got to fight. And when I'm in the corner, I was thinking about the greats that came before me, like Diego Corrales. And in his epic fights, and and you already know which one that always comes to mind with Diego. Dropped 2 times, spits the mouthpiece out, gets back up, pushes forward.
Jose Luis Castillo.
Pushes forward, and I just had that, and that's what I was thinking about. Like, people ask me what I think about in the corners. I was thinking about stuff like the greats before me. I would rather be here than deployed, so suck it up because you've been through worse. Even in my last fight with Shakur, if you guys could really look in the corner, I'm just like in a blank stare. I'm actually thinking about, okay, what I had to do to get here from everything on. And even looking at Shakur, I was like, oh my God, I can't. And I told Mario too, I was like, and I didn't follow through in the beginning. I told him that I can't outbox this kid. I'm gonna have to make it a fight, but it took so long for me to get warmed up to get to that point where I'm just like, I just gotta keep pushing forward and marching through.
Well, that's the thing. What is the difficulty? What is the riddle of Shakur Stevenson that is so difficult to figure out?
He's great with timing. He's great with timing and distance. Like, he knows where he's at. If you watch, even when I kept trying to press him to the ropes, once his back hits that ropes, he's gone. And it was like, if you start overthinking, he's gonna react first. And it's like, I don't know, he's great with his eyes. Like, if he even twitch, he's either gonna make a defensive move or he's gonna get out of there. So I gave Shakur that credit, and like I said, he's really good with distance and timing. Like, timing beats anything.
Yeah, he's been very respectful towards you too, which I really like and appreciate. What do you think about the Valdez fight and him coming up?
I think it's a good fight. But and it's not because I lost to Shakur. I always look at this is why I do commentating now on the side. I gotta look at both sides of the picture. And with Valdez, I just say that he had so much issues with his last fight against a boxer that was longer than him, that I feel like a better boxer within Shakur, he may not say Shakur may not be as strong as Cancelo, but like, he has enough to keep you, that's respectable, and keep you thinking in there. So I just feel like, in the beginning at least, Shakur is gonna end up stealing a lot of rounds, because if you look, Valdez takes a while to really get charged up and make it a fight down the stretch. But by then, You can buy.
Over.
It could be
Jamel,
over.
bottom line, if I'm Eddie Reynoso, I tell Oscar, don't think, punch. I better see 150 punches in round 1, or I'm not going to let you back in the corner. You better go. No, I'm being dead serious. When you face a guy like Shakur Stevenson, there are fights and I've talked to boxers about this. Oscar's going to have to say to himself, I'm going to get hit where I'm not going to be seen. I may never be the same because I'm going to get chipped away at. But there's a sacrifice to winning fights. I saw Margarito walk through Miguel Cotto in that first fight, and I saw Margarito after the fight banged up. He made it up in his mind that this is going to be tough. I'm going to shorten my career tonight. Now, Stevenson isn't that heavy-handed guy, but I think Jamel can tell you, he hits you with blind shots, and they actually hurt because you don't see them.
I didn't see him. I was getting cut over I didn't see him. Like, I'm thinking I got my guard up, but if you look, he loops around just enough where it's not too wide.
Right.
But just enough where he knows where his target's at, and he'll catch you right there. And he just kept irritating the same eye over and over. And I was like, we're not gonna win it by decision. So we gotta just toughen it up.
Yeah,
be willing to be knocked out. It sounds like the worst advice, but
easier said than done for a lot of
right.
guys,
but sometimes it's the only way.
You're exactly
Another master craftsman that I know you're very familiar with because you work side by side with him. In your view, having been in the gym with him numerous times, what makes Terrence Crawford special?
Bud knows how to make the proper adjustments in a fight. I think I've seen it best which is an underrated fight, in the Mean Machine fight. He was getting, and even so to a certain degree in the Kell Brook fight. You could say that he's probably getting a little bit outboxed and against the Mean Machine. And, it's just those minor adjustments that he had to make. And that's why they always say he's good at being, Max Kellerman says so best, that he's just a mean fighter.
He is. He's got that nasty.
Yeah,
he's a dog.
Well, he makes those nice adjustments, like you said, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone switch to southpaw and be equally successful.
Right.
Like, it makes you confused. Is he a southpaw really, or what?
I ask him that all the time. I was like, bro, are you left-handed or right-handed? Because I can't, even when I'm sparring with him, he has equal amount of power in each hand. That's what makes him scary as well.
Yeah.
Some guys, they may switch southpaw because they feel like they're going to just confuse you and be more effective. But, he can do it and just be not only effective but strong in each hand.
Seamless with it.
Yeah, and so, that's what makes him special. He just a smart fighter. Even down, I was getting frustrated with him. I told him even in the Sean Porter fight, I'm yelling in the crowd, what are you doing? Stop playing. And, that switch just goes off in his head, and he just turns into a whole different animal. And I said at one point in time that yes, Kell Brook was probably long past the Kell Brook that beat Sean Porter back in the day, but I always thought Kell Brook was actually one point in time one of the best welterweight.
Yeah, I agree.
After that point in time. So I always been a fan and had tremendous respect for Kell, and even in the Kell Brook fight, Kell he came to fight. He
won the first 3 rounds. I thought
he boxed. He really.
He's an athletic guy.
Bud just you can't fall asleep with him. It takes that one.
And my guy knows how to close the show. Would you favor him in a match with Errol Spence?
Oh, this is a loaded question. You can't ask him that. He's Switzerland Herring here.
Well, I know he knows both of them. I'm not asking. I'm not asking him. I'm not asking him to bet.
That fight for me is a
Is that a 50-50 fight in your eyes?
I gotta. I have to see my guy Errol in his Ugas fight.
Fair answer.
In Ugas. You know why? Because we don't know. Because the Danny Garcia fight, I felt that that he could, in my opinion, could have did more. And it was a point that time that I felt that Danny wasn't doing it. Danny didn't seem like Danny. It seemed like Danny just showed a little bit too much respect in that fight. And at the same time, we still had a lot of questions on Earl because of the accident.
Right.
So, but I feel like Ugas was really motivated and a difficult boxer as well. I have to see, how my guy performed. And I'm also huge respect with Ugas. Ugas wants to fight everybody.
Yeah,
even he said if he wins against Earl, he wants to fight Bud. But when I come back, because I'm coming back.
Yeah,
then we can speak more on it after the Ugas fight. But and not take something from Errol, but like I said, I just want to see just how he really is now, after the accident and the eye injury.
No, exactly. No, both great fighters. Yeah. I was just curious as your take right there.
What did you think of Roman Gonzalez this past weekend?
Oh, he did. He really. He's always been a great fighter, but what he did this past weekend was I was expecting another close fight.
Yeah,
he dominated. he went out there and dominated and really closed the show. And I was even talking with JC about this yesterday. I said, I never take anything from a fighter on a losing end, but I also wanted to question if, I think Martinez was having issues with the weight. If that was for his performance, was that a reason why he looked so, with so many lows in his performance within the fight? But in terms of in Chocolatito, he looked like the Chocolatito from HBO days that everyone fell in love with.
Yeah, back in the day.
Well, look, Martinez was a flyweight, moving up in weight. They gave him about 5.5 weeks. Okay, I'm old school. If you get more than a month and you can't get in shape, you're not doing your job.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what Emmanuel Stewart used to tell me all the time. I'm not changing on it. No disrespect to any of you modern guys. You guys are made to be soft because of the business. I really think you're actually victims of it. Honestly, I'm just gonna say.
I'm staying in shape, right? Look at me now.
You're the exception.
I'm good.
You're
By
an
the way,
anomaly, exactly.
What's next for you?
Okay, glad you asked that, and I have to put my guy Eddie Hearn on the spot.
Uh-oh.
Because Eddie knows I have been reaching out to him personally. And Eddie actually looks at all your messages because they show it, especially on Instagram. They show. So I went to Carl Moretti. I always go to my guy Carl Moretti at Top Rank, and I told him I had no issue staying at junior lightweight or lightweight. Wherever the fight is at. That's how I am. Whatever the fight is at, Steve. But I reached out to Eddie. And I brought up to Carl as well. I wanted the Ogawa fight, and I even told Eddie, since he's working with Ogawa, I would, I travel. You guys know the Frampton fight. I was willing to go a reason to go to the UK because they always ask me to come back to the UK, even if it's to beat up guys like Archie Sharp, who's really, like Steve says, Archie Doe. But if it makes sense, because even Archie isn't now he's a mandatory for the WBO. So like if it makes sense, I have no issue going to the UK. But I reached out to Eddie Hearn. Eddie never reaches. He never replies for whatever reason. But I actually said, listen, if you want to make the fight, I have no issue even earning my keep by taking a fight in between to get back in the mix. And I will even go over to the UK, wherever you want to fight at, to fight Ogawa. Never got a reply. So we went back to the drawing board. Mr. Gary Gittleson, of course, been a huge help in getting me just even motivated to get back in the ring. But, Gary spoke with Top Rank. We're now looking at May 14th. Basically after the Edgar Berlanga fight, I'll probably be right back in camp.
Love it.
With Bo Mack and the team. But we're going to the lightweight. We're going to lightweight. We're trying to get into the ring with maybe a fellow former world champion, and we're gonna do it on ESPN. So I'm just excited to just get back in it. And if I like you guys know, I started my career at lightweight, so I told Carl there was no issue going with the lightweight. And Top Rank being great to me so far. They even said that get a win here, and we'll have the opportunity to even go back to junior lightweight or stay at lightweight. So. There's still a lot of opportunities for me out there, and I'm just, and that's all the motivation I need. I just needed just the opportunity, and I'm going to take it as seriously as possible.
Well, most young fighters should take a page from your book. Speaking of which, your book sounds fascinating.
Yeah, how can we get it?
Yes.
Okay.
Where can we find it?
Well, I have it set up on my website. But I find the easiest way that everyone gets it, because especially today in the digital world, you can find it on Amazon. The Fighting Marine, easily it'll pop up the first thing on top of the list. The Fighting Marine on Amazon. Definitely, please get a copy. And so I meant to bring some, but like I said, the last minute thing. I gotta get you guys to sign copies. I promise.
We'll hit up Amazon.
I promise. I'll get it. I'll get it done. I will get it done. But yeah, I'm just excited. I still have that fire, that motivation, and I just want to get back to the drawing board and just work on what I did wrong in the last fight.
Well, you're a great representative of the sport, man, and I think you got a bright future if you ever want to transition into broadcasting or what have you. So we wish there were more Jamel Herrings.
Yeah, Jamel, you have an open invite. Thank you. Join us again. All right, we'll be back with more 3 Knockdown Rule on Triller. I want to thank Jamel Herring, always a gentleman in the sport of boxing. But let's go to Final Flurries. Mario, UFC, another eventful show. Go through it.
Yeah. Street Jesus, Jorge Masvidal versus
Amen.
Colby Chaos Covington. Great storyline for this. These two guys were once good friends, trained at the same gym, actually roommates. And then something happened, and there was drama. The stories differ, but bottom line, they ended up getting it on, in which was a very spirited, heated match where no one shook hands afterwards.
Oh, I like that.
But whenever you get two guys that are very competitive and that know each other very well, and by the way, in any fight when it comes to MMA, always go with the better wrestler. And Colby Covington is the much stronger grappler, and he proved that. He actually had some success standing up, but when he tried to let his pride get to him, and then Jorge kind of clipped him one time with a right, he ended up getting a little buzz, but he quickly recovered, and he's known for his cardio, and just mauled him and smashed him for like 5 rounds, and he ended up winning.
Now, they don't call me Steve Kim MMA for nothing, but didn't Covington recently fight Usman?
Yes, exactly.
Now, that was the night of Caleb Plant against
very
Canelo.
close fight.
Right, okay, but it was on the same night. We watched both at your castle of Burbank or whatever. Here's my question. And this is what I love about the MMA and UFC. When's Caleb Plant fighting? And here's Covington coming right back. In other words, there's activity. Right. There's a churn rate. These guys are being kept busy.
And those guys went the full 5 rounds.
And it was a rough fight.
Rounds,
it was
very
a rough
physical.
fight.
You're exactly right. There's no... Look, they have a next man up attitude. If you can't go... We get Spence Crawford every week in UFC. The lineup is incredible every week, and that's what Dana White, you got to give credit to him because it's all about the Shield, and it's all about the matchups. The fans win every week.
Mario, it's funny that every time you call or I message you at like 7:30 or even 8, you're like, oh, Kim's up early. What time do you think I wake up?
First of all,
at
I don't have to
o'clock?
think. I know what time you wake up. You were like you were like a teenager who sleeps in the summertime. You used to get up at like 11 a.m. player. Don't lie. Not until recently, and I just figured it out. It's because you're working on Fearless, and they're out in Nashville, so you have to be up. Other than that, Steve Kim is a lazy bum. He sleeps into like 11 a.m. The fool never gets up. I'm up at 6 a.m. every day because I got small kids. So when you text me, I'm like, dang, this fool's up. And then I remember,
this is slander.
It's only... No, shut up. You know that. You were a night owl and you never got up early.
No, I am a night owl, but look.
Jamel Herring is probably disgusted.
But you know what? I'm like
the
U.S. Army. I get more done in the morning than most people get done in the day.
You're such a liar.
All right, but here's what I do.
No, for the longest time, don't lie. You were getting up really late, weren't you?
What is really late to you? Like 9:30, 10? That's too late.
That's what you were getting up at.
I've known
you. You forget I've known you for a long time.
I never sleep
you're
that
so
late.
Stupid. You're a liar.
That is a lie. That's an absolute lie.
Yeah, on your part.
No, but because I like to wake up early.
So do I. I always get up early.
And work out on an empty stomach.
So do I. That's our move. Oh, good. I'm finally rubbing off on you.
No, you're not.
Finally.
No. But so then I got to get ready to do this fine show and to do Fearless. But I've always gotten up early.
That's false. That's false. But I'm glad to hear you're getting up early now.
Mario, the AFC West, they got some gunslingers now.
Man,
you're not happy with that news of Russell Wilson to Denver.
Can you believe the AFC West now has Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, and I guess Carr is still there for the Raiders. Just in that division alone. Look at that talent. Wouldn't you want to go somewhere in the NFC? It seemed like it'd be an easier path.
It would be. And is Denver this market? Because I know he's married to that singer, Ciara, right?
Yes.
I heard that she didn't like Seattle. Okay, so I'm thinking, she must like New York, L.A., Chicago.
By the way, why wouldn't the Giants? I don't know why I wouldn't consider the Giants with that market.
They certainly need a quarterback.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Denver's kind of built they've got some weapons and stuff, but again, you got to look at the competition around you.
Yes,
such a weird move. It's closer, I guess, to LA too than Seattle, but whatever.
And Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are peaches and herb reunited, and it feels so good.
Oh, did he finally sign?
Yes, good, and I'm glad.
Really,
I think they need to make another run. Aaron Rodgers needs to win another Super Bowl or two as a Packer. I didn't like the way he was behaving the last couple of years. That team's been good to you. That franchise is solid.
It seems like when it gets cold, though.
It's Green Bay. Get used to it.
No, I know, but when it does, because prior to it getting really cold, then he seems to struggle, ironically.
Yes,
right?
But now they need to sign Devontae Adams, and they are ready to run. Now, we're not going to talk about it yet till you get to watch an episode or two, but Winning Time on HBO, it's interesting, but we'll talk about that on a future show. All right, well, that's it for this week's edition of the 3 Knockdown Rule on Triller. On behalf of Mario Lopez, Tim Frazier, Justin Buffalo Knuckles, and Tino on the edits, this is Steve Kim saying goodbye, everybody.